will
И,
create
естественно, в этот
additional
клуб
opportunity for
дискуссий,
us
то
to
есть discussion
frame
club или клуб
institutional
дискуссий,
positions on
это,
global
естественно,
issues,
это
which will
будет так
also
же,
help
как
us in the development process
институциональная
of
оппозиция на
new or
международном
adapted
уровне. Поэтому
policies which can
мы,
favor our
это будет
constituency.
одним из
And
тех вопросов,
it is
которые будут
important,
отстаивать наши
however, that we are
интересы,
not
нашу
aiming at these
деятельность и
discussion
так далее.
clubs to make
И
any
по
final
сегодняшним
decisions
вопросам, то есть мы говорим о том,
and
что будет
solutions,
какое-то конкретное
but just
окончательное
to
решение
raise
относительно
more awareness, to share information on the issues and listening
то есть
to
нам нужно
each
будет,
other and
естественно,
listening to your opinions.
ваше
In
мнение,
order to make our
те
discussion clubs
группы,
very
которые непосредственно
interesting
мы с
and
вами
qualitative,
разработали,
so we are going to invite
представлены страны,
different
ну и также
external
мы
speakers,
будем
and this is
приглашать
where
разных
we very
представителей,
much rely
спикеров,
on our
докладчиков.
partners,
И,
and
естественно,
they are
мы
present here today.
полагаемся на
It is
наших
the
партнеров.
Global
И,
Labor
естественно,
Institute.
это
Thank you, Dave and Georgia, for joining
глобальный
us, and Vigo. Thank you, Caroline.
содействие
I see so
Vigo,
far only you
Caroline,
from
Dave,
Vigo. So we
представители,
are
которые на
planning
сегодняшней
for
встрече, Caroline
having
также.
quite
И это
regular or
будут
periodical
вопросы,
online
это,
discussion clubs,
естественно, регулярные периодические
preferably each
дискуссии
month.
относительно
However, it will
плана.
be
То есть это
communicated to you early each
почти
month
30 чтобы мы
about the
встречались
exact
на
date and the subject
ежемесячно. И
for the
относительно вопросов,
discussion clubs.
которые по темам
So our desire
обсуждения,
is
и
to
наше
provide the
намерение заключается в том,
opportunity
чтобы
to all our members from all
предоставить
continents and regions.
всем
So
нашим
we
представителям со
will
всех
try
континентов
to provide interpretation into 4 of
относительно
our StreetNet
и,
working
естественно,
languages, which is
на те
English,
языки, которые непосредственно
French,
StreetNet
Spanish, and
работают, это
Russian.
французский,
So, and today,
испанский, русский
as
языки,
a
это
very
те языки,
beginning of
которые
our
являются рабочими
discussion,
языками StreetNet
we
International.
thought it would
И,
be
естественно,
useful and
мы
interesting to
также
start
считаем, что
from
эти вопросы будут весьма полезны для того, чтобы
some
обсудить, чтобы мы
overview of the
дискуссии
year
относительно
of
того, что, да, как,
events
и
and
общий обзор
expectation.
относительно
That's
тех
why this topic
мероприятий,
for today's
ожиданий,
session
которые мы
is
возлагали на
turning
сегодняшнюю
year
сессию,
challenges and
и
opportunities
те,
for us.
ну, скажем
So,
так, вызовы,
for
благоприятные
today, we
вопросы,
have
проблемные.
our speaker,
И
Serhi
это
Taran, who
сейчас
is
мы
our
предоставляем слово
consultant,
нашему
helping us
представителю,
with the Street Vendor Barometer,
и
creation and some
нам
media
поможет нам
consultation. So
определить
he will
барометр
introduce himself,
StreetNet
and
International,
yeah,
который
you can
работает в
hear
этом
more
направлении.
about his
И
background.
также мы будем
But
говорить также
before
о
we
основополагательной базе
move forward,
этого вопроса. И
I
продолжая
think
этот
it will
вопрос,
be very
он будет
important
весьма
that each of
важно,
you
если
introduce
каждый из вас
yourself
также
very
представит
quickly,
себя
your
достаточно,
name, your
скажем так,
position
вкратце,
in
ваше имя,
organization,
кем
the
вы, кто
country,
вы, что вы,
and
какую страну
your
представляете.
expectations, if you have any,
И,
just like whatever you want, but very
теперь,
quickly, please,
вкратце,
1 minute,
пожалуйста,
if
одна
if
минута.
maybe less. This will be very
Одна
interesting
минута
for us also to
для
know
того,
the
чтобы мы,
geographical coverage we have today.
для нас было представлено
Okay, let me
того,
start
что
then
и как мы сегодняшний день
to
представлять
call
наши
you,
сегодняшние встречи и в каком формате мы будем
whom I
это дело
see,
проводить.
and
Так,
Herminio, I
и
see you as the first
Мия,
one, please.
пожалуйста, вам слово.
Переводчика включил я.
Так, нашли, да, работает, да?
Да, работает.
Слава Богу, слава
Только
Богу.
звук твой идет, как Киргизстан, а нет, что ближе.
Как, вот так сейчас слышно? Сейчас
О,
слышно?
Good morning,
Все
everyone.
отлично, замечательно.
My name is Herminio Guevara.
Херминио Гуара, то есть, значит так, Джамал, еще раз
Soy del
приветствую вас.
Salvador.
То
Hello,
есть нам
everyone. My name is
дали,
Herminio Guevara. I'm from Salvador.
Оксана сказала, чтобы мы представили сейчас
I
вкратце, кто мы,
think
что
this
мы,
is a
наши
very
встречи,
interesting
о чем мы
space
будем говорить. То есть, и
where
это,
we
Херминио
can
говорит,
discuss
очень
our
интересная
own
встреча
issues.
относительно того, чтобы
So
мы
we
могли
have a lot
обсудить
of
вопросы
topics
по
to
клубу
discuss.
дискуссий. И Херминио также утверждает, что
And we cannot cover everything in
То есть,
one go,
естественно,
but in this
за
way we can
один раз,
start
естественно, мы не сможем
going
все
through
охватить,
each of
но,
these
естественно,
topics
мы также будем
and
прибегать
discussing
к тому,
them.
что
For
если же,
example,
наверное, в дальнейшем
the
также будем
the
решать эти
topic of
вопросы
today,
достаточно
economic and
насыщенно
political
по
challenges for
по
2024. There's
экономическим
a lot
вопросам,
to learn about that
политическим
topic, and I'm looking
проблемам
forward to
и
this discussion. Thank you very much.
серьезным. И я благодарю вас за внимание. Естественно, это не за
Thank you
один
so
раз,
much,
но это будут
Conterminio.
продолжающие дискуссии, которые нам будут
Джамал,
непосредственно нужно будет. Джамал, пожалуйста, вам слово.
introduce
Джамал,
yourself, please,
Джамал,
quickly.
представьтесь, Джамал, вам дается слово. Микрофон включите, микрофон включите. He's actually found that that button, and I think he's okay now. Let's
Sorry,
see.
Almas, we don't hear you well.
Ладно,
So,
говорите.
How about now? How about now? Джамал, вам дали слово,
Yeah, it's a bit
представьтесь.
better.
Представьтесь.
А не
пожалуйста.
слышно разве меня?
Не-не-не, вас
Но,
вы только
мы не
что включили
слышали Алмаза.
микрофон. Да. Микрофон включили. Говорите, представьтесь, пожалуйста.
Включен, да, сейчас?
Almas, can you
Да,
repeat,
Включен?
please?
включен микрофон, говорите.
Здравствуйте,
Yes,
дорогие
good
наши
day, good
коллеги.
evening to
Огромное вам
colleagues of
спасибо
mine.
за то,
We're
что вы,
great. I'm grateful
я
for you
извиняюсь
and
перед
my
вами, что вас
acknowledgement that,
задержал, за то, что вы такую
that
тему
I'm seeing you
затрагиваете.
again. It's a
К
great honor of
сожалению, мне
mine. I do
кажется, тема
apologize for the
очень
mishap
интересная
between the
и
microphone.
большая.
However, I
Да,
know that
на все
discussion,
большую
it's a very
хочется
big
обо всем
discussion
сказать.
that's got to be
Джамаладдин
performed.
Исмайлов,
And
Хидматиш,
of course,
Азербайджан. Спасибо большое.
in this, I am from Azerbaijan. It's a brief introduction of mine. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Georgia,
Благодарю вас, Джамал, Джорджия,
please.
пожалуйста, вы хотели бы?
Hi, let me turn my camera on. Yeah, I'm Georgia. I'm from the Global Labour Institute, alongside Dave Spooner, who is also on the call, here to listen and absorb the discussion today and see what else we can do to support, to help develop the discussion clubs further.
Естественно, я помогу развить
Thank you.
этот клуб дискуссий, discussion club
Okay.
до
Comfort,
дальнейших.
introduce yourself.
Так, пожалуйста, кто у нас следующий представитель, которого хотели бы мы, который мы хотим посмотреть?
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Comfort Akinleo. I'm from Nigeria, from Federation of Informal Workers of Nigeria. So that's the organization that I'm currently part of. And I look forward to learning a lot from today's program. Thank you.
Thank you. Lataban.
Lataban.
Oh, okay, and thank you. My name is Lata. I am from Seva, India, and I am Vice President of Seva. And my expectation is, first of all, now we are facing the very heat this time in India. Maybe in Ahmedabad, Gujarat, and Delhi also. So we are facing this type of the challenge with the street vendors. And so then today I will listen the discussion point, and maybe this presentation will be very interesting. I hope and that I will listen. I will listen to it. So thank you so much. And now in India is evening time. So good evening to all.
Итак, еще раз рады вас.
Thank you so much for
приветствую вас
joining. We appreciate
из
your
Киева.
evening time.
Спасибо.
Okay,
за то, что
Lorraine,
вы
please.
уделили нам время. Лоррейн, пожалуйста, вам.
Hello, everyone.
Здравствуйте.
My name is
Меня
Lorraine
зовут,
Sibanda. I am National
Лоррейн
President
Сиванда.
of
Я
the Zimbabwe Chamber of Informal Economy Associations. I
ассоциация
expect that
неформальных работников
the
Зимбабве.
discussion in
Я
these
также ожидаю,
clubs
что наши
will
дискуссии
help us
сегодняшнего
to
клуба
have
помогут
richer
нам,
engagements,
то есть
even with the national governments, as we lobby and engage for the betterment of our workplaces.
для того, чтобы именно улучшить положение
Thank you so
наших
much also for
работников
joining us today.
на местах,
Comrade Banga, please.
подобных работников.
Yeah, good evening, everyone.
Приветствую вас еще раз. Добрый вечер.
My name is Benga
Меня зовут
Komalafe.
Бенга Комалафе.
I'm the General Secretary of the Federation of Informal Workers Organizations of Nigeria, FIUM.
Из Нигерии.
I'm excited to be here.
Это великая честь для
It's
меня
great
сегодня быть с вами.
meeting up with so
Рад также
many colleagues
встретиться с
from all over
рад
the world.
увидеть
So I
наших
look
коллег
forward to very
из
robust discussion
по
about
всему
the
миру
issues that
на
affect
глобальном уровне. Я,
informal
естественно,
workers,
думаю, что
especially
достаточно
street
насыщенная
vendors.
дискуссия будет относительно уличных торговцев, неформальных работников,
The
вопросов,
theme
касающихся
also
их
seems
деятельности.
rather timely.
И я
So we look
думаю,
forward
что
to
ожидаю,
robust discussions
как
and a
это я
lot of
сказал,
learning
будет весьма
from the
насыщенная
experiences of
дискуссия по
colleagues from all
вопросам
over the world.
опыта,
Thank you.
которым мы поделимся на сегодняшней
Thank you
встрече.
so much.
Благодарю вас еще раз.
Caroline, are you
Каролайн,
here?
Каролайн, вы нас слышите?
Caroline Skinner.
Каролайн, пожалуйста.
Okay, we can come back to Caroline later.
Так, Каролайн, мы
Comrade
вернемся чуть
Vandy.
попозже. Ванди,
Good
пожалуйста.
afternoon,
Добрый
everyone.
вечер. Всех
My name is
приветствую
Vandy
еще раз.
Lansana, acting
Меня
president
зовут
of the
Мандилан.
Sierra Leone Traders Union
Вандилан
Network.
Таман.
It's been a
И
pleasure here on
это
this
великое
platform.
удовольствие для меня
I think what
встретиться на
I'm
сегодняшней платформе.
expecting
Что
here
я
is to
ожидаю
exchange
сегодня,
ideas
это,
as to how we
естественно, будем
negotiate, we
говорить о
discuss
вопросах,
and
обсуждать
handle
вопросы.
issues affecting informal workers,
Таким
and
образом, мы
to
могли
form
бы
more
улучшить
alliance,
именно
partnership, and synergy,
деятельность неформальных
experience
работников,
sharing on
секторов
how
неформального
to address issues of common interest.
и
Thank
тех
you.
вопросов, которые, естественно, будут касаться нас в
Thank you
общем
so much.
на
Dave.
глобальном уровне.
Hello, everybody. I'm Dave
Итак,
Spooner.
привет, меня
I
зовут Дэйв Спунер.
work alongside
Я
Georgia
работаю
in the
вместе
Global
с
Labour
Джорджем
Institute in Manchester.
в
We've had
Манчестере с
it's
глобальным
great to be working
институтом
again with
труда.
StreetNet International,
Также
with
рад
whom
встретиться,
we
что мы
worked
опять
over many
встречаемся и
years.
работаем.
So it's
Работаем
great
с
to see you
StreetNet
all again.
International достаточно продолжительное время.
Thank you, Dave. Jessica.
Jessica.
Jessica,
I don't know whether you will hear me.
Yes. Okay, you can go, Jessica.
You can hear me, is okay?
We can
Yeah,
hear
yeah,
you.
we can hear you.
Yeah, good evening from Uganda. This is Monica Jessica,
Приветствую
and
всех
I'm
из
the
Уганды, если не
council
ошибаюсь.
member,
Я
International,
сейчас
and the
на
president of Workers in Informal Economy Network. Thank you so much. I'm
я
expecting
рад
to
вас
learn
всех.
new models of information. Thank you so much.
Thank
Благодарю.
you.
Я очень рад всех
I see
подключиться к нашей
Glenda
сегодняшней встрече.
Network. I'm not sure who it is. If you can introduce yourself, please.
Итак, у нас следующий представитель. Это у нас... Сейчас попытаемся разобраться, кто это у нас.
Buenos días.
Гленда.
Yes.
Mi nombre es Glenda Hernández. Soy secretaria de actas de la Federación
Glenda
Social de
Hernández.
aquí de Honduras. Y bueno, esperando aprender más y ver qué podemos hacer, ¿verdad? Por los compañeros trabajadores del área informal y poder aportar y apoyarles a ellos
I'm happy to be
Я рада,
discussing with my colleagues from
рада
the
сегодня
informal sector.
обсуждать этот вопрос с коллегами по
I'm
неформальному
hoping to
сектору. Я
learn
надеюсь, что
from
я
all of you, but
научусь
I'm also hoping to
новые
add some
вещи,
value to
познаю,
this
узнаю от
discussion, and
вас,
it's
и
and it
также
is a pleasure
те,
for me to be
которые
here.
вопросы, которые действительно нам будут важны на
Thank you so
сегодняшнем
much for
обсуждении.
joining
Благодарю
us.
вас еще раз. Спасибо, что вы с нами.
Jean-Paul.
Жан-Пун, если не ошибаюсь, Жан-Пун.
Good afternoon,
Жан-Пол.
everybody. My name is Jean-Paul
Добрый день,
Aganimana.
это Жан-Пол
I'm Vice
Аганима,
President of
вице-президент
StreetNet Rwanda.
StreetNet из Руанда.
Thank you.
Спасибо.
Okay, thank you. And I see Carlos.
Итак, следующий у нас Карлос.
Carlos, can you introduce yourself, please?
Карлос, представьтесь, пожалуйста.
Okay, Carlos doesn't respond. Caroline, can you hear us now?
Caroline, вы нас слышите? А Карлос,
Caroline Skinner, we want you to introduce yourself.
Карлос не выходит с нами на связь, он, похоже, нас не слышит, и сейчас мы обращаемся к Caroline.
Okay, it seems Caroline is still busy. She sent me a message that she might be busy.
Caroline, похоже, занята на данный момент. Итак,
coming Bamidele Francis, the
Bamidele
president of
Francis,
Sivon. She is connecting.
Sivon. Она подсоединяется к нам и будет с нами в ближайшие минуты.
Join and drop.
И люди,
I
которые
assume
будут к нам подсоединяться, кто будет.
Мы
Мы продолжим нашу сегодняшнюю встречу. Итак, Майра также сегодня. Майра, представитесь, пожалуйста.
Oops. It seems Myra dropped.
Так, Майра, похоже, вышла, да?
Then I will introduce
И
myself.
тогда я
For those who doesn't know me, I am Oksana But, StreetNet International Coordinator.
Координатор
And thank
StreetNet
you for
International.
all your
Благодарю
time
вас всех
today.
за
We
все
understand
время,
hectic
во время, которое
schedules and
действительно
also weekend.
нашли на
However, we
сегодняшнюю
know that
встречу. Естественно, у
our
нас весьма
members,
напряженный
they
график.
also work on weekends.
И у нас
So
также
we
есть
really
определенные представители,
appreciate your time
которые
and your
работают по
interest for
выходным.
this special
Мы также
platform.
выражаем
Myra,
интерес
if you
за
can
то,
introduce
что
yourself,
вы подсоединились сегодня к нам.
Hello everyone, I'm Mayra
Благодарю вас.
Vanucci. I'm based
Меня
in São
зовут
Paulo,
Майра
Brazil, and
Вануччи.
I work
Я
in
из
StreetNet.
Бразилии.
I'm
Работаю
responsible
в
for the
StreetNet.
workers' education area and also for the institutional development. Very happy to be here in this first session.
Работаю в отделе
Thank you, Myra.
связи и
I see
развития.
Bamidele. Okay, introduce yourself, please.
Bamidele, пожалуйста.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Добрый день.
My name is Bamidele Francis Onokwe, the National President of Federation of Informal Workers Organization of Nigeria, FIWON. I'm glad to be here, and I believe this discussion is going to give us a lot of things to learn and take home. Thank you so much.
Достаточно много информации относительно того, что мы могли бы научиться
We
и
were
работать
aiming
в
for
дальнейшем
2 hours of
наше благо.
our
Также
space today for our discussion club.
и вопросы нашего
But
сегодня
please,
клуба по
interpreters,
дискуссии,
whenever you
discussion
need
club, это когда бы
some
вам
break,
нужно будет, если же вам
I
нужно
think we can
будет
arrange it maybe
перерыв, то,
in
естественно, мы
1 hour time.
организуем
Just
через
also
час,
let me
наверное.
know.
Пожалуйста.
Okay, I will now,
Итак,
not to lose time, give the floor to our speaker. So Sergey, please, the floor is yours. Introduce briefly yourself and then you start with our discussion today.
Thank you so much. My name is Sergey Taran. I'm a political scientist, and I can tell you my expectations from this discussion club. And my expectations is that with these discussions, the organizations will be stronger. Because any organization is stronger only if members of these organizations want to communicate with each other. This is the start. When they communicate, when they share opinions, they will gradually come to the conclusion that they should do something. And once they concluded that they should do something, they do. And it is very particularly important for the international organization. People in different regions have their own problems. But for us, the organization which defends rights of informal economy workers, it's very important to see that the problems everywhere in the world for informal economy workers are the same, or at least similar. So, with this discussion club, we will hope to outline the major world problem and to come up to some kind of conclusion. Some kind of conclusions, some kind. It is because I don't expect any conclusions from this discussion club, because the idea of this discussion club is to share opinion, just to talk, without any final conclusion. There will be no right or good answers. This is just discussion. Hopefully, that this discussion will lead us to understanding what StreetNet International should do. But it is not really necessary, because our discussion club is not just official meeting. It's just about discussion. It's about sharing opinion. I would be very curious to know your opinion. The worst scenario for this discussion club, if you would have only one speaker, that would be the worst scenario. So please don't agree with me. Anything you hear from me is not right. Please interrupt me anytime, make your conclusions. I will try even to provoke you to do so, because the idea of the discussion club is just discuss without any final conclusion. So our first topic, as Oksana already pointed out, is turning year, political, economic challenges and opportunities 24. So I will outline major challenges for both politics and economics for this year. I will just outline. I will probably also will bring some questions that can be discussed in this discussion club. And then hopefully we'll have discussion, so please participate in this discussion. It's very important. So, the first challenge that we have to discuss is the world inequality. We know that, when we are talking about economics, economics is not really fair. And there is a huge inequality around the world in assets, in wealth, in income, distributed among individuals and countries. And that is not really news. But what is news is that this year we have increase in global poverty, increase in global inequality. I am citing here the World Bank. This is organizations probably not very sensitive to social issues, but even they are talking that in last years there is increase in global poverty. Here are the numbers, and we see that in 2022 the extreme poverty, for instance, in the world increased, as measured by International Poverty Line of $2.15 from 8.9% to 2019 to 9.7% in 2020. So there is an increase in global inequality. And there are some factors that can be related to this. And of course, the first factor is COVID, because it led to increase in economic inequality. It disrupted economic development in many regions. But also there are some other factors. Wars and conflict, economic calamities. All of this led to the increase in global poverty, in global inequality. And the good questions would be for us, what can we do about this? How these challenges are related to informal economy workers, to street vendors in particular. And here we have very interesting tendencies. The first tendency is that if we have economic calamities, they will result in increase in informal economy. And this is very important to understand, that the role of informal economies now in the world may increase. And it's very curious, because we used to hear from many very serious politicians, very serious organizations, that the humanity goes to formalization of economy. And we would, of course, like also to see more formalizations without any loss for informal economy workers. But as we see, with the increase of global poverty, we can see the increase in informal economy. Moreover, what is curious, that the presence of informal economy can decrease the poverty. The informal economy can be response to this increase in poverty around the world. And it is very curious tendency which describes the current world economy. So
на формальной, так и на
Taking
неформальной
into
экономике.
account all of this, we
Говоря,
can see
принимая во
that
внимание
street
все,
vending creates opportunities
уличная
to
торговля
fight
создает
poverty.
возможность для борьбы с
And it
бедностью
is
и
very
также
important for us to
обеспечивает
understand.
флаг существования
And I guess
новым
since we
поколениям
are
менее
talking about poverty,
привилегированных
about
людей.
inequality,
И,
I would like
говоря
to
также
raise some
о
questions
неравенстве,
for your
также хотел бы
discussion.
поднять вопрос для того, чтобы мы
And
непосредственно с вами
the
могли
question,
пообсуждать этот и вопрос, который,
what do you think?
что вы думаете, как вы думаете,
Why it is so
почему,
that some countries who
что в
were
некоторых странах,
in
которые
poverty,
которые
they
являются бедными,
manage
они
somehow to
каким-то
go
образом
from poverty, from inequality
справляются
to
бороться
the
с
countries with
бедностью,
more or less
неравенством.
prosperous economy. What are the
И
factors
с,
that help these countries
скажем так,
to achieve
действия,
economic
то есть они
success?
направлены на то,
Was
чтобы
it the
именно
government, the
увеличенное,
working movement,
улучшенное,
maybe some international factors?
улучшить
Because on the
положение.
one
То есть,
hand,
и
we can see
говоря,
that the world
с одной
inequality is
стороны, то есть
something internal.
неравенство,
It
это
will be all the
однозначно.
time.
То есть
But
это
on
все
the other
поступки,
hand,
которые
we see
непосредственно
some other
являются, это
cases
говорим о том, что
where
в
countries
некоторых случаях
managed
страны,
to
они
go out of this
пытаются,
poverty
они,
and
естественно, каким-то
became
образом
more or less successful
выходят
countries.
из этой уровня
So what do you
бедности.
think? What would be
И
the
как вы
key
думаете,
factor
что вы думаете,
influencing the economic success of countries?
что является фактором для того, чтобы страна могла стать экономически продвинутой
Hello?
с точки зрения формальной и неформальной экономики? Это вопрос был, задавался вам.
Okay, so if you have any
Если у вас
comments,
есть
feedback,
какие-либо
reflections, so
комментарии,
please raise your
какие-либо
hand and
обратную
you are
связь,
free
которую вы
to
хотели бы нам
express yourself.
поведать, пожалуйста.
Anyone who would like to say something.
У кого есть мнение.
If we don't have so far any
Если
questions
у
or
вас
comments,
нет
maybe
каких-либо
let's
вопросов,
continue.
то есть давайте
Unless
пока продолжим, но
somebody
будем
wants
надеяться на
to
то, что
say.
вы разработаете какие-либо вопросы относительно
Any
того,
hands?
что...
No, thank you. It is very interesting. And then
Если
can
можно,
we
Sí,
go ahead?
en El Salvador, in Salvador,
Сейчас, подождите, сейчас,
poverty has been
подсчет,
rising
Джамал. Сейчас кто-то тут говорит, я не могу.
due to massive forced movement of informal workers,
Ввиду
evictions
того,
of
что
workers
достаточно
who used to make a living in the public space.
изгнание неформальных
Basically,
работников
if the government removes them from their working space,
и
they
правительство
lose
наших стран, ваших стран,
their
естественно,
main
оно, скажем, лишает
sustain.
их каких-либо
We're basically going through a
мест их работы,
crisis.
то тогда,
It hurts
естественно,
me to
нужно
say it,
придет к какому-либо кризису,
but
определенному
that is
кризису.
what's really happening here.
И вот это именно то, что я мог бы сказать с моей точки зрения, вот с моей стороны.
How we say here in Salvador, we're just
В
simply not
Сальвадоре,
good. We're not good.
то есть просто я могу определенно сказать, что наше положение весьма плачевное. Кто хотел бы сказать еще так же?
I am not sharing something, but I am thinking of, because this topic is very interested, and we are thinking. I am thinking also about our country, what is the reason. So then I am seeing the many, and I am thinking many times, maybe the corruptions and places, vending places.
Именно о местах работы, то есть говоря об уличных торговцах, то есть мы говорим о местах, там, где мы могли бы реально зарабатывать себе на хлеб.
So we are many angles of the poverty and inequality. So we are thinking about this after listening this topic. So it is very
мы обдумаем этот
and
вопрос после
topic.
того, как
Thank
мы
you.
это дело обсудим на сегодня. Естественно,
Okay,
в дальнейшем мы также будем вовлечены в эту деятельность. И также, да. Джамал, пожалуйста, вы что-то хотели сказать, говорите.
Я Во-первых, хотел сказать свою точку зрения, что там было высказано Сергеем, что неформальный сектор в какой-то мере уменьшает количество бедности. Ну, в принципе, с этим можно согласиться. Почему? Потому что не некоторые, а многие правительства благодарят судьбу свою за то, что люди хоть заняты чем-то, они не могут представить рабочие места, они хоть чем-то неформальным сектором заняты, поэтому на неформальный сектор нападений делают меньше. То есть рекомендация 204, которая говорит о превращении, легализации труда неформального сектора, в результате они фактически закрывают глаза на это, лишь бы люди трудились, чем-то были заняты. Но это не решает проблему. Если мы возьмем последние события везде, это в том числе у нас в Азербайджане и в других государствах, катастрофическое изменение климата, естественно, повлек за собой очень такие, да, сами понимаете, ливни, град. Вот у нас буквально на днях такой поток пошел селевой, что он унес весь урожай людей, которые занимались уличные торговцы, продавали свой товар. Да, унес все, снес. Кем ей жить этому человеку? Конечно, проблема увеличивается. Если мы говорили, что в мире за чертой бедности находится 2 миллиона, то, извиняюсь, 2 миллиарда или сколько, то, конечно, сейчас резко будет увеличивать. Если туда добавим и неприглядную ситуацию с войнами, которые вот яркий пример Украины, это бесчестная война, которая ведется там, конечно, она катастрофически будет влиять на миллионы людей, проживающих в Украине. Это очень серьезные вопросы. Мы единственное считаем своим долгом просто предупреждать о перспективе, даже если она плохая, хорошее, предупреждать наших именно партнеров, уличных рыночных, что может быть такое, дорогие друзья, что вы можете это потерять. Поэтому варианты заранее готовьте, свои запасные варианты и так далее, потому что надо выжить, надо прожить. Очень серьезно. Спасибо.
Emergency situation to be sorted out in certain types of situations. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Jamal, for your very interesting opinion. Yeah, you already went ahead of our other issues that we are going to discuss today. So I see Comrade Wanda and then Myra. Среди, is it okay if we collect more feedback and then you react, okay? Okay, Comrade Wanda, go ahead. But introduce yourself, please, because you missed the introduction part.
I will be very brief. I'm Wanda Juambala from Malawi. I'm the General Secretary for Malawi Union for Informal Sector. What our comrade has said is very true. There is this world in equality. One of the things which we feel that what is happening is that you know, we are talking of informal economy, which is the biggest employer in a lot of these third world, Malawi, because the informal economy is 89%, while the formal is 11%. But when you are talking of the social security, they are not covered. So with this, there is a lot of problems of which we feel that if there was social security, which social protection, which could also cover the informal economy, that could be applied to people who are in the informal economy. Yes, they are increasing now and then. But we needed to do something. I don't know whether we could have some policies at international level so that which could also, I don't know whether it can come up as a convention or whatever, so that all people who are in the informal economy should also be covered. Yes, the other issue of which we have also noticed is that when we are talking of this climate change, when things happen, that the climate change is through cyclones or droughts, people who are in the form economy, they will suffer because there is nothing that they could fall on, because even their businesses are affected, and as a result, they do not have any other capital which they can support their businesses. So we feel that this is the crucial issue of which we needed something to be there so that it shouldn't continue to be inequality. We should be equal people. I feel that something which should be done, if it is possible for a global, as we are talking of this world, if the world can come up with something which would also back up people who are in the form economy. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I also would like to highlight that now we are currently discussing inequality. Other issues will be presented later, where we will invite you also for your feedback and comments, just for the sake of time. Okay, Myra.
Thank you, Tatjana. I will just add a reflection from my own on this matter that provokes me. When we think about the increase of inequality and sustainability of the world, and also having this sensibility to when we hear that it might be an opportunity for the informal economy, maybe should recognize the importance, the economic importance of it.
И говоря о том, что экономическое развитие является важным фактором деятельности как официальных, так и формальных, так и неформальных работников. И говоря о экономических катастрофах, это говорится о том, что насколько вот эти вот катастрофы, они влияют на официальный рынок, формальный рынок. И говоря о том, что, к примеру, если работает на глобальный рынок, то и говоря об этом, естественно, мы исходим из того, что, скажем, если потребление каких-либо товаров будут уменьшаться, естественно, то и производство тогда само собой будет уменьшаться. И говоря о статистике, вот именно процентном содержании равенства и неравенства, мы говорим о том, что именно снижение доходов ведет к тому, что и, естественно, я думаю, что если, скажем, была бы какая-либо страховка, страхование рынков, то есть для того, чтобы именно вот эти экономические катастрофы, они были хоть как-то компенсированы, хоть как-то были застрахованы. И говоря именно о отстаивании интересов, то есть именно неформальных работников, представителей неформального сектора, как говорится о том, что мы должны всегда помнить о них, и мы должны также знать, за какие цели, за какие идеи мы вообще боремся. И это именно те вопросы, которые я считаю правильно, чтобы мы непосредственно...
dedicate one discussion club just separately.
Да, но вопрос относительно доходов.
Okay, so Comrade Wanda, I think it's your previous hand, if you can please put it down. So, okay, Sergey, over to you.
Так, Сергей, пожалуйста.
Thank you very much for your reactions. And thank you very much that you already started to talk about other questions that we are going to discuss. It means that we pick up the right topic, and the topic addresses what actually worries you. And it's very good. From your answers, I clearly see that we realize that informal economy is very important for economic development. It is not something which is goes aside normal economy. It is an essential part of world economy, and it is very important to keep it and to have right approach to informal economy. What I really would like to ask in relation to global inequality really worries me, and for me it would be very curious to know your answer. When we are talking about world inequality, usually we distinguish between two sub-regions, global south and global north. And we are talking that, this is historically happened, that the north became well-developed, and they have technology, they have money, and global south all the time is behind. And the economic exchange between global north and global south is not really fair. And because of this unequal exchange, we have global inequality. But my question for you would be, why even in not northern countries, we have the same global inequality inside of these countries? Is it inequality comes from regional division, or it comes from internal nature of market economy? And it can be found everywhere, in north, in south. And global economy, and global inequality is not about regions, it's not about geography. It's just the nature of market economy. So my questions would be, when we are talking about world inequality, is it about relations between states, or is it about relations between different classes inside of countries? I hope I was clear in my question, but I would like to know your answer, your opinion.
И хотелось бы узнать ваше мнение относительно этого вопроса, который только что я озвучил. Пожалуйста, ваша точка зрения.
You can also write in chat.
Также в чате можете указать, если хотите написать.
So we can bring this points. I see Comrade Benga. Go ahead.
Benga, пожалуйста.
Yes. Comrade Taran has actually raised some very fundamental issues about the nature of inequalities and whether this is just a north-south problem or it's a problem that is intrinsic to the nature of market economy. I want to say that the question has raised actually addressing those questions will actually help to have the right kind of perspectives to addressing these issues, and also to perhaps come up with practical ideas to take on the implications of the problem of inequality head on. I think it's valid to say that inequality is intrinsic to the market economy ideology, because it actually helps those who are already well positioned politically and economically within national spaces to take advantage of appropriating available resources to themselves. I will use a few practical examples. In Nigeria, as we speak now, it has become an unwritten code of practice among very powerful people
Трудовой кодекс, которые, естественно, должны применяться по какой-либо практике.
Where poor people do their work, where street and market vendors do their work. It is very convenient for big private developers to throw big monies around and sometimes even compromise government officials to get street vendors evicted from their workplaces so that they can take over these spaces for their own use. Of course, that kind of behavior throw more and more people into precarity and also accentuate poverty and inequality. But it's also valid to say that the North-South divide is critical to addressing the issue of inequality because countries in the global South historically have suffered disadvantages in the way economic structures economic structures have been built over time such a way that they have become very dependent on the countries in the global north who often dictate terms and conditionalities of participation in the global economy. For instance, when countries like my country, Nigeria, have problems around balance of payments issues, global institutions like the World Bank, IMF, often come up with conditionalities that actually put more pressure on poor working people and making it easy for the elite, powerful elite interest to make you, to take advantage of such situations. So actually amass more and more wealth for themselves at the expense of poor working people. So why it is true that even in the global north, we also have poor people who are also victims of market economy ideology, the ideology of market economy. It will appear that those of us in the global south actually suffer double oppressions, double in the sense that we are the worst victims of the policies imposed on us from the global north, and we are also victims of how the power imbalance embedded in market economy play out domestically within our own countries. So it will make sense to have this dual approach to appreciating the challenges. That's why we campaign locally for policies that will be more friendly to working people, especially in the informal economy, which are even more who have to work even under much more precarious situations without any form of social protection and also without any form of structural support from the state. It's also important to challenge some of the global structures that continue to make it difficult, even when some national governments within the global south wants to make efforts to make things easier for their people. We see that these policies make things very difficult for such governments. Myra suggested, for instance, the importance of some form of universal basic income, which will help to redress the problem of inequality through some form of redistribution, because that's actually a program that helps to redistribute resources. However, you discover that that kind of policy will be difficult to implement in the global south, which often have to whose governments often are conditioned to implement policies that are hostile to such programs like universal basic incomes. It will be seen, a typical World Bank response will see it as a waste, that it will, such program being critiqued as accentuating inefficiencies and that it breeds dependency and so on and so forth. So working people and their organizations, and that's why I think this, what we are doing here is a very commendable initiative. We need to discuss these issues more. We need to understand them more so that our members also can be mobilized to be able to come up with very concrete demands, both presented to our own national government at local and national levels, and also to global institutions, the World Bank, IMF, and so on, and the government of the global north, to actually come up with policies that will help to reduce inequalities through redistribution. Thank you.
Thank you very much, dear Comrade Benga, for your perspective and already providing some kind of solutions according to your context. I just would like to remind those of participants who just recently joined, please choose your active language. We have 4 languages today: English, French, Spanish, and Russian. Please, for quality interpretation, choose the language and move forward. Okay, Sergey, over to you.
Thank you so much, and thank you, Comrade Benga, for very good insights, which basically describes that the global inequality has many dimensions. It has national dimensions inside of the countries, where poor people may demand for changes in their countries. It also has international dimensions, where you have unequal exchange, economic exchange between global north and global south. And honestly, there is no answer what is actually the main cause of inequality. Is it because of unfair relations between different regions, or is it because of the internal nature of any market economy? And of course, it would be very good to know, to understand how anything can be changed. What kind of things should be done in a particular country to decrease the inequality inside of the countries or on the global level? That is the question which doesn't have any answer, but I hope if you have some suggestions what the StreetNet and what all of we can do about this, it would be very nice. And then we will have the next topic for our discussions. What do you think? What kind of measures should workers' movement do in their countries and around the world to decrease the global inequality? What could be done? Is it the way of reforms, the way of social movements, okay, the way of revolutions, whatever? What do you think? What are the major approach should be employed by workers' movement to fight the global inequality?
Мы могли бы непосредственно реализовать для того, чтобы уменьшить неравенство.
I also would like to remind about time to our speaker and to our participants. So please, when you have your reflection opinion, try to be precise, because we have still more topics to introduce to you, but we can always go to more insight of each of these very important and relevant for us
мы также хотели бы, чтобы вы были глубоко вовлечены в эти вопросы, которые мы считали,
I see Lata Ben, please go ahead.
правильным
Thank you for
чтобы
this
вы были
opportunity.
вовлечены. Спасибо за то, что
First
вы
of all,
дали мне
this is the
предоставили
very
возможность. Это очень
big
важный,
topic and good topic,
важный
and we are
вопрос,
talking
который
about
я
in this.
считаю, который
And
мы говорим. Это,
in my opinion,
с моей точки зрения, это заключается в том, что
I think as a
я думаю, что
there are many angles.
есть очень много вопросов, с точки зрения, с которых мы могли бы непосредственно быть вовлечены. Например, по Индии большой вопрос и проблема заключается в том, что это именно вопрос бедности. И это вопрос, который, то есть, опять же, это, знаете, как увеличивающая бедность в нашей стране, то есть мы говорим о Индии. И это также является вопросом важным для всех тех, кто работает в неформальном секторе, потому что и такого рода проблемы есть много вариантов, которые мы могли бы непосредственно применить на местах, реализовать на местах по уменьшению неравенства, но
decrease the livelihood and problems.
И говоря о том, что именно бедность это ведет к тому, что уменьшается
on these topics, but
уменьшается именно уровень жизни, источник заработка, источник существования. И
okay.
Thank you very much, Lataben, for your experience. So I saw hand from Alejandra.
Alejandro, вы подняли руку.
Still valid. Alejandra, are you going to say something?
Alejandra, вы хотели бы...
Buenos días, gracias. Sí, es de suma importancia este tema a nivel mundial.
Yes, I think this is a
Я думаю, что это важный вопрос, тема для обсуждения на глобальном уровне, потому что, говоря о экономическом кризисе и уровне бедности, с моей точки зрения, это именно то, что уличные торговцы это именно один из способов, которым мы могли бы решить неравенство и быть вовлечены в эту ситуацию, это то, что... То есть я полагаю, что нам нужно выдавать лицензии, то есть работать над вопросом выдачи лицензий.
Sorry. Who is speaking now?
Сейчас мы потеряли, кто сейчас говорит?
Alejandra?
Alejandro, по-моему, он пропал.
Okay.
Yes.
Sí, para tenernos en una economía más formal, yo pienso...
Сейчас, секундочку. И продолжая этот вопрос, также мы говорим о том, что конкретные шаги нам нужно будет принять. Это то, что... То есть, говоря вот о лицензиях, как я только что уже упоминал, Алехандро сказала, то есть это должно быть... У представителей уличных торговцев должна быть рабочее место, где они могли непосредственно реализовать свою работу, работать на местах и так далее. То есть, естественно, также их должны уважать. Должен быть... И этот вопрос весьма, скажем так, непопулярный вопрос, потому что, насколько мы знаем, в большинстве случаев уличные торговцы, их, можно сказать, просто, что не уважают. Так? И говоря о именно условиях работы, то есть мы должны работать над тем, чтобы им предоставлять уличные торговцы предоставляли именно приемлемые условия работы. Кто еще хотел бы выразить свою точку зрения относительно
Sister Jessica, the input? She says organizations of workers in informal economy should use power resources, approaches, and lobby
ресурсы по полномочиям для того, чтобы их признание как представителей сектора неформального также было весьма услышано в соответствующих местах, в вышестоящих инстанциях. Спасибо.
Sergey, over to you.
Yes, thank you so much for your input. And now I would like to move to our next topic for our discussions. And this topic is about security. Security became very acute issue this year due to wars and conflict. And the first war is the Israeli-Palestinian war. As we see, doesn't assume a quick end. And this is going to be an endless war. But now it became bigger and it can go beyond the Gaza Strip. It's a war can be spread to other countries and can involve other countries. And it became very, very dangerous factor for both economy and politics. And it is very acute issue for our organization as well, because informal economy in Gaza Strip has always been a complex and challenging issues. Even before the war, there were no true so-called formal economy in the Gaza region. It was always kind of semi-formal. But the problem that with this war, the people who are working there, they're one of the first victims of any violence. And they are in a very, very difficult situation. That is the huge security challenge, which can also involve other countries. So that is one of the most important challenges for this year in security area. Another war is the war between Russia and Ukraine. And the particularity of this war is that it is a war which not just between two states. According to Russian leader Putin, the war aims to change the world order, meaning that the war aims to redistribute the power around the world. And that is why the war is very dangerous, because it can touch anybody, any country. Also, the war involves key world players, including the states with nuclear weapons, which makes the war even more dangerous. It can involve European Union, it can involve NATO. And of course, with all this involvement, the war can be spread beyond the borders of Ukraine. And this war is related to what we are doing in StreetNet International, because the informal economy workers in the areas of conflict, as we already talked, are one of the first victims of the violence. But what is interesting specifically about Ukraine, and what Ukrainian example shows, that informal economy workers does not have any support from the state in time of war. Now in Ukraine, formal economy has some support from Ukrainian states. Moreover, through the Ukrainian states, international organizations can help Ukrainian business to survive. But as a matter of fact, informal economy workers don't have any support, neither from the Ukrainian states, nor from the international organization. If we look at entire world, we would see that Israeli case and Ukrainian case, unfortunately, are not exceptions. I here can show you the picture demonstrating that a number of conflicts and wars around the world increase. And that is very interesting, if I can use this word, observation and statistics, because after the end of Cold War, there was a general expectation that we came to the stage when states will not fight with each other, because there is no reason, there is no ideological reason between states to fight with each other. So there was a huge expectations after the Cold War that we will have more peace in the world. But as we can see, that new wars appear, and a number of wars and actors using the violence from year to year increase. The big question is why. I hope you can discuss this in the discussion sections, but there is no clear answer. Because if you think, for example, the war happens due to economic crisis, but it is not the case, because the wars are not always related to economic crisis. They are not always related to the fact that many ethnic groups. The war is not related to any clear cases, and I hope in the discussion sections we can discuss why we have the increased number of conflicts. Another challenge for security, it's so-called Trump factor. The Trump factor basically is not just about Trump, because it's not just about the US. The challenge is that the candidates to American presidency, Donald Trump, is promising that once he will be elected, he will destroy the American influence around the world, and will focus only on internal domestic American problems. And I know that for many people probably it would be a good news. But the question arises, what would be the extent of American influence around the world? What are the other actors, other states that can take place of the United States in the world? And by itself, this change of power in the world can produce more calamities, more conflicts around the world. Because if we don't have one clear leader, probably we will have several leaders competing with each other for world leadership. And that is why the Trump factor is a security factor. Another things related to Trump factor is that he promised to fight immigrations inside of the United States. And he is intending to take measures that would lead to increase of informal economies, particularly among immigrants. And one more important factor, he also promised to cut social expenditures. But all of this is a kind of domestic American problem. But the biggest challenge for the world security is that if he implements his strategy, the world will not be the safest place. And taking into account all these challenges, we can conclude that informal economy workers are the most vulnerable to violence and harassment, but at the same place we can say, at the same time we can say that informal economy can provide security, food security for areas where we have conflict. And we can see that with this number of conflicts, many official international organizations cannot help to people, but informal economy workers and street vendors can help, because they can provide food in areas where nobody can go because of the war. And it is very interesting things that on the one hand, we have the most vulnerable, one of the most vulnerable part of society, informal economy workers, with vendors who are suffering because of the war. But where is this group can provide food security in the time of the war? And it is very important. Another, I think, important thing to say in relation to security is that the role of women in informal economies increases during the conflicts and war. And it's very important for us to take into account, particularly because the gender issues is very important for our organization. So here I would like to stop and ask you some questions related to security. And the first questions would be, what do you think? Why a number of conflicts around the world increases from year to year? Why? Is it because of economics or because of ethnic issues? Of course, it will relate to the second questions, what we have to do about this. But at the first place, we have to understand what is the reason why the number of conflicts goes up and not down how we would expect.
Okay, thank you, Sergey. Any thoughts in this regard? Any reflection or contribution? Please raise your hand or write in chat. We have our comrades from New York. Maybe you have some more insight, reflection to share.
Please will tell us about Trump factor.
Just to share among all the perspectives. Okay. Okay, I see Jessica. She says to me, I think conflicts increase day by day, become of self-interest of countries related to the economy of the country and powers to dominate others. Thank you, Sister Jessica, for your comment.
Wants to say something.
Yes, Jamal. Jamal and then Alejandro. Please, Jamal, go ahead.
Потом Александр.
Я знаю, да, вот эта тема очень глобальная, естественно, тема войн, тема причин, следствий, тема страдания людей. Это самая страшно большая тема. Можно о нем... Дело в том, что великий Карл Маркс, он правильно в свое время подчеркнул в «Капитале» своем, что действительно борьба все будет усиливаться. Капитал большой не любит мощные другие страны, своих соперников. Они их будут уничтожать. Они войны поэтому увеличились. Буквально Вторая мировая война не успела завершиться, а в апреле уже та же Англия, США тихоря договорились о том, чтобы продолжить войну против. То есть эта история была, есть и будет всегда так. Поэтому в этой истории проигрывает, естественно, простой люд, простой народ проигрывает. И что-либо изменить мы, к сожалению, обычные, крупные глобальные организации, международные и так далее, мы не в состоянии, это точно, потому что там влияние совершенно другие. Если сотни тысяч людей, например, сегодня из сектора Газа убивают, 35 тысяч людей только убили, что они богатые все были, все бедные были, всех уничтожили. Или на Украине остались деревни без людей и так далее, столько убили людей. Что? В чем их вина? Ни в чем. А вот это страдание еще больше увеличится. Поэтому я считаю, единственный, вот, связываясь с первым, вот, предыдущим вопросом, вопрос такой, что надо все-таки нам, StreetNet, разработать небольшое письмо. Я могу ему помочь, потому что практика такая в мире была много, когда государство брало на себя обязанности в рамках трехстороннего соглашения организовать закуп продукции из деревень отдаленных, чтобы человек не страдал, не вез, и чтобы его продукция не была реализована за копейки, а чтобы нормально выкупить у него продукцию, дать ему деньги, человек зарабатывал. Это был факт, это действительно так оно и есть. Сейчас надо нам, думаю, таким письмом обращаться к некоторым государствам, что просьба, помогите вашим регионам реализовать свои продукции, ибо каждое население определенный, каждый гражданин, который занят в этом секторе, они не в состоянии платить большие деньги, вывозить, например, крупные регионы, города для продажи и так далее, тем более, если не везде созданы условия для торговли. Вот. Это важно, понимаете ли? Если мы это делать не будем, мы должны стремиться естественно и думать о судьбе тех людей, которые были уличными торговцами, где они сейчас на Украине, куда они ушли, в Польшу, капусту собирать, бураки собирать, или секторы газа, куда они ушли, один Аллах знает, один Аллах, все еще хуже стала их жизнь. То есть, конечно, это трагедия нашей современности. Я хоть 100 раз будем говорить, вот глобальный.
have to highlight these kind of issues on the permanent basis and work on this as much as we can. And he has actually broke up, I think. Probably he broke up.
Thank you very much, dear
Глобальное
Jamal.
государство,
So
глобальное государство.
I would like to invite Alejandro, then
Государство,
Start,
одним временно для рекламы нужно что-то родали, эти государства, где люди очень тяжело жили. Вот элементарно, Оксана, как ты говорила.
And also he is saying that the people who are living in the poverty, they actually the ones got to be like paid attention in order to be supported by the local governments with their activities and such.
Thank you, Jamal.
Случилось.
After
Jamal,
him,
спасибо,
I would
Jamal,
like to ask our interpreters if you need a short break, like 5 minutes. So
that
please.
would be very beneficial. Thanks a lot.
Okay, so we have Alejandra now, then Estash and Herminio, and then we have 5 minutes break for our interpreters. Go ahead, Alejandra.
Alejandra, pожалуйста.
Sí, gracias, muy amable. Yo considero desde mi punto de vista que las guerras han sido de siglos.
From my point of view, war and conflict has been going on for centuries. It is nothing new. Unfortunately, it affects informal sector workers the worst. I think it has always been tough for small businesses, but they do get some support. Where there is absolutely no support is for informal economy workers. Very sad to see people getting affected, losing all their income and knowing that they have to sustain so many other family members. I did listen to about the Trump effect, and it is certainly concerning.
Это, естественно, скажем так, достаточно животрепещущая тема.
I always think if there would be a war, a conflict in any big city like New York, it is the street vendors that can provide a lot of food support, local street support to all those affected. I think
я думаю, что
people that are making these policies still related to the Trump effect, they do not see the value of informal
добавят
workers.
именно
That
армии
is the main
безработных,
problem.
это будет именно исходить из того, что именно эффект Трампа повлияет на них достаточно серьезно и
Goes all
сильно.
the way to our own countries as well, not only
И это помимо
in
того,
the
что,
US.
скажем так говоря,
They don't
если же
see
это
the
произойдет в
value
США, тогда, естественно, это также
we
выйдет за
provide,
пределы США.
and therefore they do not provide any assistance, no investments, because they don't see the value in it.
К сожалению, также можно сказать, что никакой поддержки ни с одной стороны, ни с другой стороны, то есть мы говорим о эффекте
I would love
это
for
не принесет,
all
и,
international
естественно, приведет к тому,
organizations
что ситуация только ухудшится.
that are somehow related to this
И с какой-то точки
will make a
зрения,
statement or will make some sort of international
если же
agreement,
мы будем
someone, let's say,
вовлечены в
like
такого рода
UN,
деятельность
in
и
support
напишем
of
официальное письмо от имени
informal workers around the
StreetNet
world, especially in
International,
conflict
естественно,
zones.
то тогда мы, возможно, коим-либо образом попытаемся, чтобы мнение уличных торговцев было услышано.
So I don't see Estash anymore as hand. I think the hand was put down. I will move to Herminio, please.
Herminio, пожалуйста, вам слово.
Thank you. I'm ready.
Спасибо.
Well, basically, in my opinion, all
С моей
wars
точки зрения,
are
все
for
слова,
economic reasons.
все войны
I
исходят
cannot think of
именно
any
из
war that
экономической
does not have some implicit interest,
ситуации, что ли.
economic interest
Потому
of
что
a
экономические
few
интересы
individuals
тех
or a
или
few groups.
иных государств, они ярко
This results
выражены.
in the poorest of people
И, например,
paying
самые
the
бедные
cost
слои
of war.
населения,
And the
естественно,
poorest
они,
of people
которые
are
страдают в первую
members
очередь.
of the
И
informal
представители,
economy. So it is the informal economy
и
workers that are
наибедные слои
affected the most
населения — это
of
именно
any
те, кто
kind of
является
conflicts in any
представителями
region.
неформального сектора.
But I do
И
believe that any
я
war
полагаю,
has
что каждая,
an
любая
economic
война,
reason behind it.
у
In the case
войны
of El
также
Salvador, I
есть
can tell
как
with all
экономические, так и
certainty
неэкономические
that
причины.
public evictions are going to increase.
И, естественно,
I actually want to emphasize
редислокация,
that El Salvador
перемещение
is an
именно
atypical
общественности,
case,
народа, местного
and I would
населения
like to
из одного региона в другой,
propose
естественно,
the
есть
idea of
вероятность того, что
having
это будет
the
увеличиваться.
Salvador case as a
И,
topic to
например,
discuss in
то
this
есть
club one
по
day.
Сальвадору, то есть говоря об
There has
этом,
been
мы
massive
были
public
огромные
evictions, and
именно
we have no answer, no solution
изгнание
on
общественности,
how to
так
deal with it.
применительно к
As my colleague
Сальвадору.
Alejandra was saying,
И
it
как
would
вот
be
Алехандро
great
только
if
что
we can
сказал,
bring
что
this
было бы,
topic to United Nations.
то есть если бы
That
этот
would be
вопрос
great
поднимался
indeed.
на уровне ООН,
However,
и
we are under a precedent, under an
у
authority
нас
that
также
does
есть
not
прецедент,
acknowledge this
потому что
international
к сожалению,
organizations.
эти
He referred
международные
to UN
организации,
meetings as
они не
just
признают,
big fancy
не
meetings
принимают во
to
внимание
gather and drink
такого рода
coffee.
проблемы,
And
если
you
это можно
can
назвать.
check all his
Но также
public speeches and statements online,
все
and you'll
официальные
see that what
речи,
I'm saying is it's true. It is very strong. It is very concerning.
то есть вопрос заключается в том, что это вызывает наибольшее опасение по вопросу
I would like to state
зоны конфликтов.
here, if we can have a discussion
Также мы можем
in the
поднять
discussion club
вопрос в нашем
about the
дискуссионном
case
вопросе
of
в клубе
El Salvador.
именно
So far, there has
случаи
been
по
up to
Сальвадору.
40,000 informal workers
То есть на
have
данный
been
момент в Сальвадоре
evicted from
были
their
40
workspaces, and
тысяч
this number is to
неформальных
increase.
работников, они были практически изгнаны из своих мест проживания при реализации
With
своей
this
деятельности.
new period that has just started, with the government,
И
this
значит,
number is going to
новое государство, новое правительство, которое было
increase
назначено, оно увеличит
trifold probably. And there is no solution in
именно
sight, and there is no
те недоразумения, которые,
satisfactory
возможно,
answer to
это
the
поведет за
workers.
собой. То есть,
And
и я
I
считаю,
appreciate
что
Oksana and the team if they can take into
такое
consideration my proposal to include Salvador case as a topic of
и
discussion
на
in the
следующем
club.
вопросе, в следующем дискуссионном
Thank
клубе,
you so
когда мы
much,
станем
dear Comrade
вопрос
Herminio,
Сальвадора
and
также
I see
включите,
that
пожалуйста,
Comrade
на
Benga is also supporting your
И
input, saying very
Бенга
correct.
тоже
Herminio,
поддерживает
wars are
вашу точку
promoted
зрения.
by few powerful people,
Армения
and poor
также,
working
да,
people
естественно,
suffer
говорит, то
most
есть
during
именно
wars.
зная о том,
I
что
also
при
saw
любом конфликте,
earlier
при любом недоразумении,
input in chat from Comrade
уязвимые
Benga,
слои населения,
saying
они
most
всегда
conflicts
страдают в
can
первую
be
очередь.
tracked back to problems of social and economic inequalities.
И
The more
говоря
people
о
are in desperate
именно
situations,
экономической
the easier
ситуации,
it
то
is
есть
for overambitious people to mobilize
много
on the
случаев, в
basis of
которых
latent
именно люди с
differences,
большими, с
like
огромными
religious and
амбициями,
ethnic
они,
differences.
естественно, не обращают
And
внимания
one
на
comment from
уязвимые слои
Asovako,
населения, и
Comrade
это именно
Bernadette,
то, что, возможно,
saying that, in
является
my
определенным
opinion, conflicts are
каким-либо,
increasing
ведет к
much
каким-либо
more
недоразумениям.
because of economic factors.
Потому
For
что экономические
example, in
факторы
the east
заключаются в
of
том,
the
что на
DRC, Democratic Republic of Congo, with the
Демократической Республике есть
M23 war, the motivation is the exploitation of minerals. Okay, I would like to propose 4 minutes break now for our interpreters. Please don't leave the meeting. We are here, but we really need to respect our interpreters. They're doing great work and only one person per meeting. Please stay and next will be Comrade Eagle's Big. I don't know the name exactly, so you will be the first after the break to speak. Thank you. Let's have 4 minutes break.
4 минуты перерыв сейчас. 4 минуты перерыв.
Джамал Самаев, салям алейкум.
Тамара, здравствуйте, рады вас.
Здравствуй, Тамара, здравствуй.
Здравствуйте, ребята, как вы там? Все живы, здоровы, все хорошо?
Нормально.
Тамара, у нас сейчас перерыв, здравствуйте.
Да ничего, слава Богу, вот прибежала
Хорошо,
с работы по-быстрому.
Общайтесь, мне надо отойти немножко.
Давай.
Оксанушка, привет, рада всех видеть.
Взаимно, Тамара. Рады вас видеть, Тамара.
У нас сейчас горячая пора, у нас еще идет неделя, когда мы поминаем всех наших ушедших. И последние приготовления, практически завтра и послезавтра 2 дня, весь народ уходит на кладбище, и там проводятся ритуалы эти поминальные все наши. Так что мы еще сейчас в каникулах, у нас каникулы почти 12 дней. Почти 12 дней.
Bonjour. Bonsoir, c'est la Sovaco Air de Congo. Bonsoir.
Тамара, вы меня слышите, да, главное, хорошо?
Я вас вижу, а у меня вышел испанский язык почему-то здесь сохранить. Зачем? Отмена.
Bonsoir.
А у нас ваши как дела?
Пойдет.
Спасибо,
у нас все нормально, да, спасибо. Дай Бог. А вот вы говорили по ушедшим, в смысле, те, кто во Второй мировой войне?
Нет, это просто на кладбище уходим.
Типа родительского
у нас,
дня,
естественно, да, христианская служба идет, и там свои, обычаи. У нас очень много дарят подарков друг другу, обмениваются подарками поминальными.
Ну, замечательно.
Там друг друга угощают, наливают, кормят и все такое.
Наливают это в первую очередь, да.
Да, съезжается вся родня, и друзья, и одноклассники. Это день, завтра и послезавтра 2 дня, когда действительно в эти дни встречаются все, со всех краев мира слетаются. Такой обряд, обычай, в общем, все за общим столом расходятся. Это такое серьезное мероприятие.
Ну, понял, да. Пусть небеса и земля им будет пухом.
Да,
всем
пусть
ушедшим, да.
покоится с миром, у нас говорят.
Да, покоится с миром, да, пусть покоится с миром, правильно.
Ясненько. Что там у вас, потеплело?
Ну, относительно, дождик сейчас у нас сегодня пошел, а так уже на 26, на 27 температура у нас скачет, да?
Да, у нас тоже так.
Ну вот,
в доме холодно, я оделась потеплее, в доме холодно, на улице сегодня 16.
Ну 16 это еще приемлемо, еще нормально.
Мы отключили уже, конечно, газ, все отключили, у нас все очень дорого.
Ну, вот. Я представляю.
И, в принципе, обходимся так пока.
Да.
Ну, там на кухне жарится, шкварится уже все одно, другое, знаете как, греемся.
Вы на кухне на дровах, наверное, готовите, да?
Да бросьте вы, газ у нас.
На газ, а я думал на дровах.
Газ, цивилизация у нас есть, все окей.
Я, конечно, не сомневаюсь в том, что у вас газ есть, но он на дровах вкуснее, вы же знаете.
Ну, это вкуснее. Мы ходили на 9 мая, был День Победы, у нас тоже очень много мероприятий, у нас совместно с Днем Европы было. И получилось, мы пошли на парад, потом был концерт, посвященный Дню Европы. Всего в Молдавии осталось только 32 ветерана Великой Отечественной войны, живых еще. Вот. И после этого поехали на дачу шашлык жарить, там уже на дровах, конечно, все. Вкусно, хорошо.
Шашлык это святое, конечно, да.
Да, шашлык, овощи запекали, такое вот, и отдыхали. Да устали, каникулы 12 дней это слишком много. Школы отдыхают, садики почти не работают. В общем, вся страна отдыхает почти, потому что эти дни, которые ходят между праздниками, люди на работу, они эффективности никакой не дают. Все бегают по магазинам и тратят деньги. Подготовка к очередному празднику.
Ну вот даете 12 дней, а? 12 дней.
Да, слушай, Джамал, мы устали, я уже заколебалась. Ты
Так
знаешь,
вам и нужно. Работать надо.
сколько можно пить и
Работать
кушать?
надо.
Согласен.
Можно.
Согласен, Джамал.
Okay, let's come back. Тамара,
всё.
вы выбрали
Ребят,
язык.
пока.
Итак,
Тамара, вы на русском, да? Вы слышите
Едем
перевод?
дальше, работаем дальше.
на русском канале, да, Тамара? Вы же на русском канале, да?
Okay, is everyone back? Let's resume
Я вас
our...
прекрасно слушаю, все отлично, все нормально.
Замечательно.
Okay.
Замечательно.
Let's resume our session.
Итак, возобновим
to
наш... У вас же, по-моему, презентация есть, Тамара, да? Вы знаете, что сейчас идет вопрос о дискуссионном клубе. Кто как, есть точки зрения, кто хотели бы.
Everything is okay.
Okay, so we can start.
Yeah, 10-4, Roger Dodger.
Okay, so
Can I talk?
Okay, because I saw your hand was down. Now we said Eagle's Beak will start, and then you will be after
Так,
Eagle's
и
Beak.
сейчас передается слово представителю Eagle Beak.
After Eagle's Beak.
Eagle, okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so please, I'm not sure if I pronounce its name or it's just nickname, Eagle's Beak Technology. Please, can you speak now?
Имя или же это,
if you are here.
Прозвище, если вы нас слышите, Eagle Beak, пожалуйста, можете начинать.
Okay, I think the person is not at the meeting yet. Okay, Stash, you can go ahead now.
Okay, thank you very much, comrade, all of you. Concerning the security challenges, I think it is mostly concerning the religion issue. There is no tolerance at all. No tolerance at all. Israel is behaving as the Son of God, the powerful Son of God, who cannot tolerate Muslims to stay close to them. And I observe that even those Muslims is not fair. The law, the Sharia law, which to convert by force people from the other religion is not fair at all. That's why there is insecurity in that region. But concerning now the Ukraine, for me, Putin want to negotiate with his former wife, like Ukraine was SSSR during revolution, and then this Ukraine is now with democracy people. It's not fair at all. The former wife must come back to Russia. That is why there is war with Ukraine. But I hope the supporter of Ukraine, they will help Ukraine to win. That is my prayer. Thank you. That is what I want to say about this point concerning the session. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, comrade. And you are from Benin, because you were not in
Benin Republic, Sinabamab.
Yeah, from Benin. Okay, thank you.
And then, please, excuse. Today there was a huge march. People, workers from everywhere
Большой
work
марш сегодня был всех
against
в нашей
the
стране.
expensive things in the market. I hope
Относительно
that is
протестовали
the issue of
по
climate change, because no
они
rain,
поднимали вопрос
no
изменения
crops,
климата и
no food,
именно
so the one
увеличение
available is very, very
на
expensive. So I
продукты.
want to let you know that that is the
Именно
news in Benin Republic
ценообразование, то
today.
есть по увеличению цен. То есть это вот по нашей стране
Very
сегодня.
interesting. Thank you so much. If you can
Спасибо.
share this news with us, we can also
Если же
share
вы
it in our
отправите
social
нам
media. And I think this is the point
на
where we
почту,
can move to
естественно,
our
мы
last
наших
slide of today's
нашим
session about very
в
relevant
нашем
what last comrade
социальных сетях,
mentioned
естественно,
about
это
climate
поясним
change.
вопрос
And
и
Sergey,
вопрос.
over to you.
Сейчас, естественно, мы
Yes,
говорим
I will do it right now, and I just to make small summary with what you said before about security. The reason why we have to take the security factor into account,
мы, естественно,
that
должны
there is
говорить
no
вопрос, принимать во внимание вопрос
perspective
безопасности, это
that
именно с
there
этой
will be less
перспективы,
conflict in the
что
world. And morale, there is no
и
clear
мораль,
reason why we would
нет четкой
expect the
причины,
decrease
почему
in
мы
conflict.
бы
Because if you think that it
ожидали
is
бы
because of
уменьшения
economy,
конфликтной ситуации на
like
мировом уровне, либо
Comrade
исходя из
Hermino
того, что
was
только что Чермин
suggesting
сказал, что именно
that
все
all
войны
the
исходят
wars come
из-за
from the economy, then
экономических.
we would not
Война,
explain many
любые войны,
religious
естественно, исходят,
wars around the world.
причины войн являются
Many
экономические причины. И
facts when people simply die
мы
for
знаем,
their
что
countries, or for their ethnic group, or for
мы также знаем,
their
что
religious
этнические
group.
группы,
It
естественно,
has nothing to do with
религиозные группы, они
economics, but
просто,
nevertheless,
знаете как,
economical reasons
они
sometimes drive the
теряют
war,
свою
and
жизнь,
it is
но
also
и у
the
них
fact.
нету никаких, например,
The
скажем так,
problem is in
вовлеченных
which
в каких
way
или иные
economic
экономические
growth
вопросы,
can
но
drive the
вопрос в
war.
том, что
Because on the
каким
one hand, we
образом
can say
именно экономический
that
рост
if we have more
может
prosperity,
стимулировать
we would have less war.
непосредственно войну.
But example
И
in many
примером
countries and
является
around
то,
the
что в
world
большинстве
proves different.
странах
Proves that economic growth sometimes related to
война,
the
которая происходит,
increase of the war,
из того,
because
что
we have high
экономический рост, он
competitions
ведет к
our economic
увеличению
resources in time of
военных
economic growth.
действий, то есть конфликтов.
Moreover,
И
many
мораль,
social
более
revolutions
того, я хотел бы
inside
сказать,
of many
что
countries
в большинстве всех
happened
случаев
not when there was economic decline, but where there was economic growth.
То есть, и
A
опять же,
so-called
исходя
modernization
из
theory
анализа той
that
ситуации,
saying
то
that if
есть
you
мы
have economic
приводим,
growth, you
я
have
могу
more
определенно сказать,
conflicts, more
что
political conflicts,
именно
and
экономический
on the
рост,
international
а не
level you have
экономический
more wars.
упадок ведет
So the security
к
becomes
увеличению
enormous
конфликтных
challenge for
ситуаций, к
current
примеру,
world.
военных
And of course,
ситуаций.
it's related to
И,
informal
естественно,
economy workers, and we
само
have to
собой,
take this into account while we are
те,
doing our
принимая во
work.
внимание,
And now is the
что
last
мы
topic.
являемся
The last topic is
представителями
climate
неформальной
change.
экономики, уличных торговцев,
Why we are talking
это
about
мы,
climate
которые
change?
будут страдать в первую
Climate
очередь.
change
И вопрос
basically
относительно
says
климата,
to
это
us
почему вопрос?
that
Это,
geography matters. Geography
климат
matters.
радикально меняет способы
Why we are saying
экономического
in this way?
развития бедных
Because we are
стран,
used to think
что повлияет на
that
национальные стратегии
economic
развития, в сферу
prosperity
глобального развития, формы
results
международной
from
безопасности.
the institutions,
И
from
эти
right
вопросы, естественно,
institutions inside of the countries.
мы знаем, что
Which is to say
факторы,
that
которые
if you have
влияют, это
democracy, if you
география
have right
играет
government, you will
важную
have
роль в
prosperous
определении
society.
экономического состояния
But
стран,
climate change
при
shows that, you know, it's not only about institutions,
И
because
экономические
climate
перспективы
change
сегодняшних
may
бедных стран
target
непропорционально
differently different
ухудшатся,
parts of the world.
независимо от их институтов,
And in
организаций.
some countries, like at global south,
И
you would have much more
переход на зеленую экономику
dangerous
может вызвать
consequences of
экономические,
climate
политические,
change.
социальные потрясения,
And on
способствует
northern countries, you will have
экономическому кризису
less
на мировом
dangerous
уровне.
consequences.
И
So it's not up to internal institutions of these countries to fight
не касается
poverty.
не только
We have to
непосредственно тех
take at least
организаций, тех стран,
geographical
которые
factor into the account. And
по
particularly,
региональному
it is important
уровню,
because
но это
economic
также,
prospects
говоря с
for today's
экономических
poor
точки зрения,
countries
то есть это
will be disproportionately vulnerable because of climate change.
И опять же, вот
But on the other
изменение
hand, we
климата
have this
может повлиять на то,
opinion
что
that we should have the same
непропорционально
rules
страны,
regulating climate
находятся в
change
достаточно
in
бедственном
rich
положении,
countries and in poor
они
countries.
могут еще и
And
ухудшиться,
how
еще
climate
хуже
change
стать. И
can be related to what informal economies, informal economy organizations do it. First of all, the climate change must be taken into account in economic policies. Of course, the climate change can influence the working conditions for street vendors, and we have to take this also into account. And the climate change may influence migrations around the world. And first of all, it can influence the migrations from the global south. And this also should be taken into account. So, but now, when we are talking about climate change, we know that one of the most acute issues is environmental issues. And I would like to ask you, for our discussions, to ask you one question. What do you think? When we are talking about environmental regulations, should they be the same for all countries? Or we can say that for some countries, regulations should be more strict, but for some other countries are not that strict. Taking into account the climate change. Hello?
могут повлиять на ухудшение ситуации в том или ином регионе. Это вопрос вам.
Yes, yes. So, yes, comrades, please go ahead with your reflection or answers if you have. And I see Herminio raised his hand. Please go ahead, Herminio.
Herminio, пожалуйста.
En realidad, y gracias, compañero. En realidad, lo que tenemos que hacer es global.
That the approach we need to take is global. The impact of climate change sees no borders. When there are floods in Guatemala or in Honduras, they also hit El Salvador. Borders are just human-created limits, geographical limits, that climate change does not acknowledge. So whatever measure we take, it should be from a global approach.
Это, естественно, должно быть на глобальном уровне. Вопросы должны подниматься и решаться.
Thank you for your input. I see Alejandra.
Alejandra, pожалуйста.
Sí, gracias nuevamente. Yo
Thanks
pienso...
again.
Спасибо еще раз.
I agree with Herminio.
Herminio, я соглашусь.
I totally agree that the approach to climate change should be global.
Подход по...
Recently, only a week ago, I saw a documentary on Japan, a very clean country, very clean cities. And of course, I would like to have a law that globally applies the same pressures and the same rules as the Japanese apply to their people. I used to work myself in a house, cleaning in a house, a European couple from Switzerland and Ireland, and they always used to recycle and follow a specific discipline in terms of how they manage their waste. And I've never seen that in my life because we do not give importance, we're not educated on the topic. But then I see how it has an impact on us.
Естественно, также могу определенно сказать, что это на нас также повлияло.
Thankfully, I found this organization in my country that supports measures to fight climate change, and we are learning how to individually, in our own context, do what we can in terms of recycling, managing waste, wood, plastics, metals, etc. We're not gonna save the world just by doing that, but at least we can all add our little effort, and this effort will come up and have somehow relevant, significant impact in the global fight against climate change. I always believe that at UN level, a lot of regulations and policies can come to be,
Требования будут
and
также
I hope
пересмотрены,
it happens this way. But
обновлены.
everybody has to add individually in order
То
to
есть
have a
каждый
global approach.
непосредственно должен сделать свой вклад на
Thank you very
уровне
much for this position, a very conscious position,
концептуальной
Alejandra.
позиции. Благодарим
I
Алехандро
see
за
hands. Please go ahead.
стаж, если не ошибаюсь, стаж, по-моему, да?
Comrade Stash, can you hear us?
Okay, yes, thank you.
Yes.
Comrade Oksana.
Оксана,
For me, according to me, climate change
изменение климата это
occur due to
исходит из того, что
destruction.
потому что
They destroy forests
разрушаются леса
in Amazonia, in
в
Congo.
Амазонии, в Конго.
This is the lungs of the world. In French, we say le poumon vert de l'humanité. So after the destruction, climate change, and sometimes no rain or no sufficient rain, then the farmers cannot be able to grow properly food. That's why there is problem. So how do we do to solve this problem of climate change? People say we need to plant more trees. But according to me, the world cannot come in the same place. So after planting a lot of trees, that's the main issue. We must plant trees so that the world will be wonderful to us. Not only the destruction of forests, there is also the gas, CO2. In French, we say the gas à émission de serre. That is gas carbonic. The smoke, they are emitted into the atmosphere, bring also climate change. And there is the protocol of Kyoto to reduce those smoke into the atmosphere. But mainly the country like USA, Japan, they must produce article, they must produce manufacture goods. That's why they can reduce the smoke into the atmosphere. I need something must be done so that we should get wonderful world. We need to stay in a wonderful environment and in a conducive environment, not a polluted environment. Thank you, Oksana.
Thank you so much for also raising those international treaties, documents like Kyoto Protocol. Very good to have it here from your input. I see Sister Jessica hand. Please go ahead.
Let me try. I want to type, but I don't know you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I agree with the current speaker. In fact, he contributed some of my points, like on the Kyoto Protocol, which these people themselves did and failed. Also, they breached it. When you look at this climate change, it is a global approach, because the global north is the most producer of the carbon emissions, up to 70%. So even if we plant trees and do everything, for us our contribution is very low and very small. And they know it. They made very many researches and they know what they're supposed to be doing. But because of the self-interest of those capitalists, they don't want, after sitting and agreeing again they breach their contract or their agreement they have done. So being a global approach, we need also to make sure that we push and if those people can also make sure that they go with their agreements they have agreed with, and they don't breach it, so they can reduce on the carbon emissions that are affecting the ozone layer, which is causing the climate change. Thank you so much.
Thank you for great contributions, Sister Jessica. I don't see other hands, but I see some chat message from Comfort Kim Lu. She says one of the ways to address the issue of climate change is to move from having industries that emit gases that affect our climate to one that is environmentally friendly. The use of solar is one solution to this issue. The issue of climate change will most likely affect people in the informal sector, as it includes farmers, street vendors, and the likes, and if not managed, it could lead to loss of jobs, lives, and properties. Thank you so much. Sister Jessica, can you put down your hand unless you want to say something in addition? Okay, over to you, Serhi, for your comments in this regard.
I'm pleasantly surprised. You see, StreetNet International is a very conscious organization, and it cares about environment. As I already pointed out, there is no wrong or wrong answers in these discussions, but nevertheless, my humble position is that the environmental rules should be global, and then must be applied for all countries. However, sometimes we hear that they should be applied selectively, because we can hear from some government that, you know, because of climate change, we have to have some set of rules for developed countries and another set of rules for undeveloped countries, because these undeveloped countries had to develop their economy to make sure that they would get the same economic development as developed countries, and only then they can use the same environmental rules. Which will be very difficult, of course, to realize the consequences of such approach, taking into account the climate change, because the climate change can only worsen the situations and the world inequality. So basically, we are done with our main topics of discussions. Then we will have to talk about next topics, and before I give floor to Oksana, I would like to thank everybody for this discussions. It was exciting for me to talk with such broad audience. Unfortunately, I cannot see all of you, but it was really interesting to know what you think. With technologies and with your opinion, I'm sure we will make our organization better, and with these discussions, we will our intellectual connections stronger. So thank you very much, and I'm giving floor to you, Oksana.
Thank you, Serhi. I saw also one hand from Farida. We can give you the floor if you would like to say something, Farida. Sister Farida?
Yeah, yes.
And introduce yourself, please, and your country.
Yes, I'm Farida from Bangladesh. I'm just sharing my country situation affected the climate change is bigger issue, but in our country, just not only our country, in South Asia also, all are just competition build the high-rise building, right? And not only that, highway, road also, bridge also, and cut the lots of tree. Government cannot initiate. We are just reproduct the. We are just not grow the tree, right? All trees cutting the tree, and competition is the day by day build a high-rise building, and developer company, they are win their business also, right? So every country not only is a global issue, every country can initiate and make the policy also, right? And lots of, we are just affecting lots of carbon also, lots of garments factory and other factories in our country. Government have policy, but not monitoring system is wealthy, right? And that's why we are just affected. And every country can make a policy and maintain that strictly also, right? And monitoring system have in monitoring system is strictly maintain the monitoring system. We just survive sometimes. This is my opinion in our country, not only ours, India and other South Asian country also. They cannot maintain the, they cannot follow the law, and government also not monitoring strictly, right? So every country can initiate reduce the carbon and survive the climate change situation. Not only our street vendors, all informal sector, formal sector, they are suffering the climate change issues also, right? And not only that, we are just build a high-rise building, and our cultivating land is just shortage, right? Housing system is built, but we cannot cultivate the crop and other things also. Land is shortage day by day. Land has shortage, right? So this is one thing also. And river also, build the bridge on the river, and river can suffer the barrier, not flow the water also, right? Sometimes this is the obligations of the build a bridge on the river. That river after 5 years, that river going to die.
Должно быть построено, естественно.
So this is the problem also. So, okay.
Также
Yeah. Thank you so much, dear Farida, for also bringing this very painful points of implementation of the policies as well as the monitoring. But we are those probably the ones who can also monitor or push for implementation. It's just we need to be really strong in our collective efforts and collective voice. I also see Comrade Wanda, you want to say something?
Comrade Wanda, вы хотели что-то сказать?
Thank you very much, Comrade Oksana. It's very reaching. One of the issues already raised when I was talking at first about this climate change. But this climate change is real. We need to do something as a club, as we are talking here, maybe as a student as well. Because what I feel is that sometimes when these groupings are meeting, if the resources were available, we would have also participated in those groups, maybe demonstration and whatever, so that they should also know that informal economy are also affected. And the other issue is that because of this climate change, sometimes women, they woke up early in the morning and go to fetch water from very far, while men are still sleeping. So this climate change is real, and people are really affected silently. So we need to do something so that our voice will also be heard. Lastly, I would like to thank the comrade who has been presenting this, at least to have given us something that we can discuss now and then. So continue, and we hope that next time we are also going to benefit a lot from
как
what we are
сегодня,
going to
так и
discuss. Thank you very much,
на
comrade
последующих встречах, потому что это также важный
Thank you
вопрос.
so much.
Именно вода – это
So
источник
we
жизни.
actually have to finalize our
То есть
session
мы должны
today,
подвести итог нашей сегодняшней
due
сессии,
to our interpreters'
потому
time.
что
I
мы
really
должны
value
представить
your
нам
time and appreciate your patience.
нашим
But two more
переводчикам и
chat messages here I see for the climate change,
два также
where sister
две информации в чате также
Jessica
были распущены, то
is
есть
saying the carbon
говорит, что
emissions that pollute the
именно
air
выбросы в
is
атмосферу
damaging the
углерода
ozone
это,
layer,
естественно,
which has nothing to
то,
build it
что
back,
именно
and at
разрушает
one time
озоновый
we will an
слой.
extent of no return. So as much as we do what we are supposed to be doing, surely we need collective efforts headed by the biggest producers of carbon emissions. If not, we are deceiving ourselves, I am telling you. Those nuclear's biggest factories and etc. So true, dear sister Jessica, thank you so much for this. And from sister Jeanette from Rwanda, we have one comment. She's saying here in East Africa, we are experiencing heavy rain, floods, people dying. Climate change is a big issue we have. In informal sector are suffering. We need to take this seriously and make sure that the voice of vulnerable workers are being recognized. Thank you for this topic. Thank you also for your contributions, very valuable and very relevant, and we will consider those in future our advocacy programs. I also would like to go back a bit and read the contribution from our president, Lorraine, who is saying, additionally, inequalities continue to increase because of structured exclusion and exploitation of precarious workers. There is need for continued and strategic engagement for the inclusion of informal workers in social dialogue platforms so that they contribute towards decisions which govern their work, rights, and operations. True recognition of informal economy workers can be realized through policy formulation and review to articulate rights, freedoms, and respect for informal economy workers as legitimate workers. Thank you so much for this input, dear President Lorraine. So, as for now, I would like also to inform you that this is very beginning of our this open free discussion session. However, we would really like to hear your feedback in any channels. You can approach us, either it's in your WhatsApp groups or directly send me message or email. But we really would appreciate your feedback and any future topics you would like to raise and discuss at this space, international space. We heard some of your suggestions, like from Comrade Herminio. We see that climate change is a really huge issue. However, I also am glad that we have even some provided kind of solutions, what we can from our place, what is our role in this particular global challenge. But I would like to go quickly through further potential topics that we would like to propose for your consideration, and here you can see on the slide about those topics. So it's about labor movement and trade union history. We believe it is important to go back a bit to the history and to see how labor movement or trade unions even started, because before there were no formal arrangements for formal workers. They were all informal, but how they became formal. And somebody said, I think, Jamal, that history is like repeating itself. It seems it is the case. We also would like to bring the point and topic of internationalism and worker solidarity building, main challenges of the world political system, the role of international organizations in the international system, what are our also opportunities and limitations along with any other international structures, environmental issues and economic development, we can continue within the climate change context, technological progress and labor rights, from poverty to prosperity, successful and unsuccessful cases of countries or cities of modernization, new age of social media and information, challenges and possibilities, and artificial intelligence, how it will impact our lives, where we are and what do we do. I believe you also notice how artificial intelligence is growing. So what will be the perspective of this also from our side? Anyway, it's not exhaustive list, it's not limited to your suggestions and contributions. We really would like to hear from you your particular concern, and if we see that it's quite relevant among all regions, so we can bring it to the table and to discuss it. I also would like to hear your feedback about the arrangements for such format, because I know due to our diversity and different time zones, it's very late for Asia, and I appreciate Lata Ben for joining us and Farida, and very early for Latin America. If you would like maybe to have regional forums just due to time difference, or you are okay, because this is where we can share different regions experience and perspective. This is something we would like to hear from you as well for our future arrangements for such discussion clubs. I also believe we will have very rich conversations each time, and it will bring us to higher level of consciousness and how we need to act or react to different international global challenges. I would like to thank all our participants, our interpreters, our speaker, and of course to Myra for helping in arranging this discussion club, and our partners. I think they already left from Global Labor Institute and from Vigo. But yeah, this is what we have as conclusion today. Sergey, you would like to say something as a final word, or you are okay?
I am okay, but I hope we will continue the discussions in our next sessions, and we will probably have to bring more acute questions, fostering big discussion. It's very important to know what you think, and it will really help a lot to StreetNet, and it will help to enforce our work and our efforts to defend informal economy workers and street vendors.
Okay, thank you so much, and till next time we will inform you about our next discussion club, the date and the time as well as topic. Thank you and have a great day or the rest of the day. Okay, if you can open your video, we can take some picture of our participants. Okay, Comrade Benga, where is your video? We need to see you. Okay, and one more. Our interpreters are also here.
Thank you so much, everyone.
We are indeed. Thank you very much. There was a really, really exciting discussion about.
So bye bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you so much also for your contribution, dear interpreters, and for your patience and professional approach. Thank you, Fausto, Dmitry, Almaz.
Great honor of mine.
Have you taken the picture, Oksana? Yeah, I took. If you took, it will be also good.
Thank you, Sergey, Oksana, and our affiliate organizations. This is very
Bye. Take care. See you next time.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Was great honor of mine. Thanks a lot.
Спасибо. До следующих встреч.
Okay. Okay. Bye bye. Take care.
Bye bye.
Всего доброго всем.